Thank you very much and good afternoon. My name is Nathan Hochman. I'm the District Attorney of Los Angeles County. With me up here, we have on my right, Mark Bayard, who is the head deputy for the Public Integrity Division. From my office as well on my far left, we have Hoon Chun, who's the Director of Fraud and Corruption. We have as well Robert Campbell. He's the Assistant Auditor-Controller for the Chief Audit Executive, and Greg Helmold, the Chief of the Auditor-Controller's Office of County Investigations. So what we're here today to talk about, sadly, is 13 different county employees who took advantage of COVID relief, and they did it in an illegal way. Now, as I say at all these press conferences when we discuss charges, they are just that. They are charges. The charges themselves are not evidence. Evidence will be presented by the District Attorney's Office in a court of law to prove each and every one of these individual defendants guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. That's where the evidence will be presented. So what you will be hearing today are allegations made in criminal complaints, and once again, everyone is presumed innocent until and unless proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, and these allegations are just that. They are allegations and not the evidence that we will actually be presenting, although we will talk about that type of evidence we intend to present in courtrooms. So when we're dealing with this particular situation, if you can recall back in 2020, California, along with the other 49 states, were greatly suffering through COVID. In particular, people were losing their jobs. And what happened is basically the federal government and the state of California offered a lifeline to these people who are now unemployed because of COVID. And that lifeline was to apply for unemployment insurance, EDD, Employment Development Department unemployment insurance, where if you were unemployed and it didn't look like you were going to be able to put money on, basically pay for your rent, pay for your food, pay for your shelter, the California EDD came through. And when I say came through starting in 2020, over $100 billion ended up coming to California that eventually was given out to people who applied in that unemployment program to get that type of relief. Now, as you've heard through the years, they estimate roughly $30 billion of that money, roughly somewhere around a quarter to a third of it, was actually ripped off. The people who submitted those applications had no business or right to submit those applications, received this COVID money illegally, and essentially stole it from the actual taxpayers and the people who really needed it in the first place. So we performed an analysis, and when I say we, it was the Auditor-Controller's Office. And what they did is they looked in particular to county employees. These are county employees who were employed at the time, full-time, by either the county or their next employer, yet applied and made applications to this COVID relief, EDD fund, saying in essence that they were unemployed, that they didn't work for either anyone or the county, and thereby were entitled to this relief. What you'll see in the charts behind me on the right is the application that everyone had to fill out. And in that application, which they signed under penalty of perjury, they had to list the employer that they were listing at, had just worked at. And obviously, if they were applying for unemployment benefits, they were now unemployed by. 12 of the 13 of the people who are charged listed nothing. They didn't list the county. And the other person didn't list the county as well, listed a different unemployment, or listed the fact that they had been terminated by the county at the time they were applying for these EDD benefits. But these 13 people here, as this chart on my left shows, received over $437,000 between 2020 and 2023. They represent 7 different county agencies that they worked at full-time at the time, yet that basically indicated that they were unemployed. Now you might say, well, that might just be one application, and maybe their identity was stolen. Well, the investigation conducted by the Audit-Controller's Office looked at a much bigger universe of applications, 170 applications. And that in itself was winnowed down from originally over 900 applications that listed a county employee's name. That was winnowed down to 450 applications, actually determining that the identity theft occurred in roughly about half of the applications. They then focused and put additional resources into approximately 170 of these different county employees. And from that 170, we ended up at this point in the process. And when I say this point in process, I mean 2025. And the reason I'm focusing on 2025 when I came into office is that there was a 4-year statute of limitations in which to bring these type of charges. Many of these cases were presented to the prior district attorney, and only 16 individuals who are county employees actually ended up getting prosecuted, 13 in one particular case. So what you had is we had still individuals that were within, and I mean, when I say individuals, these 13 individuals had the last amount of money that they received within the last 4 years, which then allowed us to actually prosecute these 13 individuals, even though we can't prosecute a whole bunch of these individuals that the Auditor-Controller's office did investigations and was able to show at a fairly high level committed this type of fraud as well. So with respect to these 13 different individuals from 7 different county agencies, what happened is not only did they submit that original application that falsely stated that they were unemployed, and for the most part didn't even list the county as their last employer, every 2 weeks, and this is now the screen on my left, you had to certify that you didn't receive any money for the prior 2 weeks in order to continuously qualify for COVID relief payments that were coming to you every 2 weeks. These 13 individuals certified somewhere between a low of 10 of these certifications up to over 50 of these certifications every 2 weeks to continue this sort of illegal siphoning of money from this taxpayer program. And when I say that there's $437,383 that was illegally collected by these individuals, that wasn't just from the EDD, though that's where the check came from. It actually ultimately comes from LA County, because LA County had to reimburse the EDD for the payments made in connection with LA County residents. So this money actually came from the county itself to county employees who were saying falsely that they were no longer or had never been county employees. You see where I'm going with this. It is shocking at these county employees who are receiving their county check every single 2 weeks are also telling EDD at the same time that they're unemployed and they receive no money. We will not tolerate this type of illegal conduct by anyone, but especially by county employees who are given that additional trust, particularly with the county's money, to make sure it is spent legally, lawfully, and for the intended beneficiary, which were people who were truly suffering during COVID. Each one of these individuals will face a felony grand theft count in addition to a misdemeanor count. The felony grand theft count will carry a maximum term of imprisonment of 3 years. And what I want to send a message, particularly to any county employee that was involved in this situation, if you haven't been prosecuted yet, we are still going. And if we have the statute of limitations to bring these cases, we will bring these cases. And if for some reason you lucked out and the prior administration didn't do it, and we can't do it at this point, it doesn't mean you didn't steal the money. And if you did steal the money, give it back. Because each one of these various agencies is also going to take an administrative look at what happened with respect to those various individuals who are not here today as prosecuted individuals, but individuals that still took money that they should not have. Because the overall message, and I want to send this, and I'll end right now, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Campbell, is this. I want to send a warning to all county employees, whether it's COVID relief, that some, and I mean some, we're talking not when we have we have tens of thousands of employees. We're talking a small subset. So I do not want it to seem that somehow I am indicting the county or its employees. We have some credible employees here in this county. In fact, the overwhelming majority of people in this county who work for it are doing a fantastic job upholding their trust to the residents of this county every single day. But for those greedy fraudsters who are working for the county and they're trying to rip it off with COVID relief, illegal workman's comp claims, illegal overtime claims, for that very small subsection of greedy fraudsters, we're coming after you. I will guarantee you, we're coming after you. So stop what you're doing now. Take this as your warning, as your deterrence. Stop what you're doing as far as these illegal actions go, and we will take your stopping doing it and giving the money back into consideration in deciding whether or not to criminally prosecute you. Because if you do end up committing this additional fraud and you have not stopped, your name will next be on this chart to my left. Then you'll have to deal with Mr. Chun, our Director of Fraud. On corruption, you'll have to deal with Mr. Bayard, our Head of Public Integrity Division, and you'll have to deal with the resources and the relentless investigation of our Auditor-Controller's office. So with that, let me turn it over to Robert Campbell, who is the Assistant Auditor-Controller.
Thank you, District Attorney Hochman. My name is Robert Campbell. I'm the Assistant Auditor-Controller and Chief Audit Executive for the county. My remarks will be fairly brief. Our office operates the county's fraud, waste, and abuse hotline, and we conduct investigations of fraud, waste, and abuse within county government. In these cases, we identified 172 instances where county employees submitted fraudulent workers' compensation claims and received benefits they were not entitled to. And these resulted in substantial losses to the county. These investigations are conducted to support the integrity of county government, to ensure that there is accountability for misconduct, and that the public can have trust that the resources they provide to the county to carry out our vital programs and deliver critical services to the most vulnerable residents are not lost. We couldn't be effective in this role without the partnership that we have with the District Attorney's Office. We find out the facts and we report those facts to the parties that take action. And so we are grateful for the District Attorney's willingness in this case to work with us to consider these cases and to take action where it's possible and appropriate. We rely on a variety of different avenues to become aware of allegations of fraud, waste, and abuse. And one of the most important is whistleblower tips. We operate an anonymous fraud hotline. And so any type of fraud, waste, or abuse that anyone is aware of within county government, we strongly encourage you to come forward. You may remain anonymous. You may contact our website. You may contact our 800 number, fraud.lacounty.gov, or 800-544-6861. And you can be assured that your allegations will be taken, they will be vetted, and they will be handled appropriately and seriously. At the end of the day, public service is a public trust. As the District Attorney correctly pointed out, the vast majority of the county workforce works tirelessly to represent and assist some of the most vulnerable people in our population. And we all deserve and should expect a government that is built on integrity. I believe our leaders are committed to a honest, fair, and efficient government, and we're here to shine a light on instances where the workforce members, the small minority of workforce members, fail to live up to that standard. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll take questions at this point. Yes.
5 out of the 13 employees that you have listed on that board are with PCFS. How extensive is the fraud in that department with unemployment, disability, and workman's comp?
Again, if you measure it against the total number of employees at the Department of Children and Family Services, it's a relatively small number, a very small number, but an important number. It's not zero, which is what it should be. In this particular situation, it is 5 people within the statute of limitations that we can actually charge at this point in time in 2025. There are others. Within that 170 cases that were investigated by the Auditor-Controller's office, there were others from this department. Again, compared to the vast number of people who, as the Assistant Auditor-Controller pointed out, are working tirelessly to help the children of this community, they're doing a great job. These people who are on this chart are a black mark to that agency. That is why they need to be rooted out, criminally prosecuted, and effectively removed from county service, because they chose not to act in the highest traditions of someone who works for the Department of Children and Family Services. They chose to act as greedy fraudsters, as we intend to prove in court.